Here is just old school graphing. I've got 1, 2, 3 different places where it touches down, and it touches down in different ways. This is kind of a squiggle kind of touching. Okay? You've got 3 different roots. Sketch a graph of the function, then draw the number line that represents. If I just look at this and say I'm looking for a root, I set that equal to 0 and I solve for x, I get x equals 5 if I add 5 to both sides. So I've got a root at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. And it's a normal ordinary root, doesn't have a power or anything. If I look at just this by itself, I've got x equals -1. Okay, I go back to -1. I'm going to space it out a little bit. It's not to scale, but you'll see why in a second. So I've got another one here at -1, but that -1 is a special root. So I like to kind of sometimes put an indicator, like an x there, that shows that that's a special root when we go back to graph it. And then an x out in front by itself is going to give you a 0. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3 different points of intersection. The fact that there's a negative out in front means ultimately this thing is going down and to the right. Nice. So down to the right here, it cuts right through at 5 because, like I said, it's a single root. It's got another single root at x. Well, and x is equal to 0. So we're going to come up and we're going to cruise back down and cut straight through. This is the hard part. As you come back up, you got to somehow show that that's kind of a squiggly sort of go sideways across the x-axis. You can see these go straight through. That's got a squiggle pass, but that's essentially what you're looking at. When it comes to the number line, you're identifying the same locations, -1, 0, and 5. You're going to put open circles because the question is, when is this stuff above the x-axis? Well, it's not above the x-axis when it's sitting on 5, but it's above between 5 and 0. Up here is what I mean by being above. So if I connect between 0 and 5, I'm just showing you the domain over which this thing's above the x-axis. Where else is it above? To the left of -1. So on these types of things, I like to give you something to go by and then an opportunity to do it yourself. So that's what I'd ask you to do here. Just keep in mind here that that's squared. Also keep in mind up here, if you kind of are looking to do that, 5 is the common base for those guys.